Hello, I'm Philip Brunelle, Artistic Director and founder of Vocal Essence and organist choirmaster at Plymouth Congregational Church. So each day I've selected a composer who's had a role to play with one or both of these organizations. Today it's the English composer, poet, and author Arnold Bax, B-A-X. He was a prolific composer of songs, choral pieces, piano music, chamber music, orchestral. He wrote 7 symphonies. He came from a very wealthy family, and they encouraged him to compose, so he really was a kind of a loner in a way, worked by himself, had gone to the Royal Academy, and became fascinated with the country of Ireland and its music and traditions, and also Celtic traditions and culture. So a lot of his music came around that, but then later he was fascinated about music of Scandinavia. His music was very kind of thick, and the choral music, which is wonderful, is not easy. He wrote a piece that we have performed at Vocal Essence called I Sing of a Maiden. It's an old 15th century text, and it's wonderful music, but again, it's thick, so that when you hear this opening here, and then he builds up part after part. Great music, but not always the easiest. His symphonies were not done a lot in his time, probably because they were just huge. They called for so many extra instruments. But little by little, his music now is becoming well known. He was born in 1883, died in 1953. In 1942, he was appointed Master of the King's Music, a title he really wasn't that excited about. He did some of that kind of special ceremonial music, including a march that he wrote for Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. He was known to be someone that you could hand a score of music, a big orchestral score, and he would sit down at the piano and could play it right off. In 1945, near the end of the Second World War, he composed a set of 5 fantasies on Polish carols for children's voices with strings. We performed these at Vocal Essence a number of years ago. They're just charming. I wish they were done more often. The bel canto voices, which Jan Kimes directed at that time, sang with us. And he wrote these hoping that people in England would show, as he said, sympathy and help for children living in Poland who were starving at that time. And so one of the carols is this little carol. And he gives it an introduction that you don't really know that that's coming. So the introduction is, and then the children enter. food for the strings. In 1947, he wrote a number of piano pieces, but he wrote one that was a set of variations on an old, he says, a North Country Christmas carol. The title of the carol, which is, of course, something we don't hear anymore, is "O Dame, Get Up and Bake Your Pies." It's a charming little melody, so he takes that melody that you hear, and he does a set of piano variations. I'm going to play just a couple of the variations. You get a little sense of his creativity here. Music of Arnold Bax. Have a wonderful day.